But look, what did it take for us to get to the point of an apology? We had to threaten a lawsuit, Jesse. And by the way, we're still entertaining it. We're talking to some of the best lawyers out there that are experts in this. And as you know, these things can be very complicated. There's a lot of facts and circumstances around it. But we're not going to let this go, because you should not be able to smear 5,000 high school and college kids and then just be able to walk away with it.
You let them in. You let them in and you knew what they were. Right. So you are complicit. I want to make a quick clarification about the neo-Nazis at the Turning Point event. They were outside protesters. My point was more metaphorical, that you embraced them at your thing, I felt.
But Whoopi is certainly not the brightest person. And what she just said just doesn't make any sense. It's just like so silly to say. It's not a well thought out. It's like if you had an idea for a premise and it was totally baked and half baked, and you went on stage with it and just couldn't.
Things just took a wild turn. Whoopi Goldberg completely flips out after Joe Rogan and Charlie Kirk join forces in a verbal tag team that leaves her reeling. The clash, fierce. The tension, off the charts. 1 minute she's composed, the next, she's spiraling into full-on meltdown mode faster than you can say cringeworthy live TV. What exactly did they say to set her off? This fiery exchange plays out like a high-stakes episode of your favorite reality show. And believe me, you won't want to blink, let alone miss a second.
Welcome back. In Monday's conversation about Turning Point USA, I put the young people at the conference in the same category as the protesters outside. And I don't like it when people make assumptions about me, and it's not any better when I make assumptions about other people, which I did. So, my bad. I'm sorry. Okay. So, the state...
You know that feeling when a living legend starts to falter, and it's like watching a slow-motion car crash. You want to look away, but you can't? That's exactly the vibe when Whoopi Goldberg dove headfirst into the political battlefield, only to find herself blindsided. What started as a bold opinion turned into a headline-worthy meltdown as Joe Rogan and Charlie Kirk, two powerhouse voices from opposite corners of the media universe, unleashed a verbal blitz. They didn't officially team up, but the effect was the same. A no-holds-barred takedown that left Whoopi staggered. Think fiery hot takes, verbal haymakers, and a dose of unexpected chaos that no one, especially Whoopi, saw coming.
Founder and CEO of Turning Point USA and the author of the new book, The College Scam. So, Charlie, do you accept the View's apology?
I mean, regardless of whether or not I accept it, the question is, do our students accept it? That's really what's at heart here. They went after our 5,000 students at our event there of high school and college kids. And look, I get attacked all the time. People say false things. I'm a public figure. But when you go after 16 and 17-year-olds that travel from across the country that then have to live for the rest of their life with a shadow over them because someone at ABC says that they might be...
First, let's set the stage. Whoopi Goldberg, Hollywood icon, daytime TV firecracker, and a one-woman force of nature in pop culture, decided to weigh in on a topic that was already hotter than a live wire in a thunderstorm. Whether it was race, politics, or one of those endlessly explosive culture war debates, she didn't just touch the third rail, she practically hugged it. You could feel the tension in the air, like static before a lightning strike. And once she spoke, it was game over. The fuse was lit, the clock was ticking, and the verbal fireworks that followed, let's just say they made shockwaves.
Shift between right and left authoritarianism, and now people don't recognize that if you just stopped looking at it in terms of red and blue, look at the actions, whether it's war, suppression of free speech, pharmacological interventions that are mandatory, right. whatever it is, that used to all be associated with the authoritative right, the authoritarian right, and now those things are being embraced by the left. And I just think it's just an ideology thing, and I think we get confused and we think we're on the right side. We're on the right side, and if it's our side that's saying this, for sure that's the right thing to do. And no one's critically thinking about this.
Joe Rogan is the gateway drug for young men that thought they were Democrats to become MAGA. Joe Rogan is the bridge.
Enter Joe Rogan. But don't expect your average talking head. Joe's more like that guy at the party who's absorbed 1,000 rabbit hole conversations, from psychedelic fungi to cage fighting, and somehow connects them all with razor-sharp boy commentary. He's not there to sugarcoat, sidestep, or play the media game. With his no-frills, straight-shooting style, Joe tears into arguments like a pit bull locking onto a bone, relentless, unfiltered, and totally unapologetic. When he sets his sights on something that smells like nonsense, he doesn't just challenge. He dismantles it piece by piece while everyone else scrambles to keep up.
They felt they needed to do that, Jesse, is because if they told their audience the truth, that when gas is the most expensive it's been, flights are super expensive, that 5,000 kids decided to spend a weekend in summer traveling across the country to go hear from conservative speakers, maybe the audience of The View would think twice about all of their ideas. That's why they felt so compelled to try to smear our wonderful summit this last week.
Yeah, they have nothing else to do.
So Joe catches wind of what Whoopi said, and instantly it's like watching someone try to teach quantum mechanics while wearing oven mitts and talking through a kazoo. The moment it starts, you just know it's headed straight into the ditch. But Joe, in his signature hold my kombucha fashion, steps in, not to gently disagree, but to launch a full-scale rhetorical dissection. And when we say breakdown, we're not talking light critique, we're talking full demolition mode. He doesn't just counter her argument, he reduces it to confetti. Imagine a paper shredder with a grudge and a degree in logic. Joe takes her points and feeds them through a grinder made of pure skepticism, hardened facts, and a generous dash of, "Are you serious right now?" His style? Subtle as a jackhammer at a yoga retreat. It's not a debate, it's a word cage match. No polite nodding or playing nice. Joe's here to uncover every crack in Whoopi's reasoning, wielding precision like a surgeon, who just happens to be using a chainsaw. Every flawed claim gets peeled back. Every unspoken assumption dragged into the light like a referee who just can't stop blowing the whistle. And while Joe's carving through the logic slowly and methodically, across the ring stands Charlie Kirk, the firebrand, the rapid-fire political blitz machine. Charlie talks like he's sprinting through a landmine field, tossing out sound bites sharper than Ginsu knives. Where Joe dismantles, Charlie detonates. He sees Whoopi's comments not just as misinformed, but as a flashing neon sign for everything he believes is broken in mainstream media and cultural elites.
Is that show has this very specific ideological bubble in which they operate in, you know, and they always bring on a token conservative woman and they yell over her and silence her, and you know they did that with Meghan McCain, and they did that with what is that other blonde woman from Survivor? Do you remember her, Jamie? She was always yelling. I mean, it's just it's a bizarre show.
Charlie doesn't bother with niceties or warm-up swings. He comes out swinging like a verbal prize fighter in round one. His critiques aren't just sharp, they're blistering, delivered with the energy of a sarcastic 14-year-old who just stumbled onto political Twitter and realized roasting public figures is a full-time sport. He zeroes in on the contradictions, skewers the performative virtue signaling, and positions Whoopi as the unofficial spokesperson for everything tone-deaf in celebrity discourse. His commentary lands with the force of a freight train on a downhill sprint, relentless, fast, and unapologetically destructive. Charlie isn't interested in politely unpacking each argument point by point. That's not his style. Instead, he aims for the gut, delivering knockout blows that make the entire premise of Whoopi's argument look like a flimsy prop in a bad high school play. This is blunt force commentary, wielded by someone who not only knows exactly where the soft spots are, but also delights in pressing every single one. He knows how to trigger outrage, command attention, and generate headlines like a seasoned fire starter tossing matches into a media gasoline puddle. But here's the twist that makes it even juicier. Joe Rogan and Charlie Kirk never actually joined forces. No tag team takedown, no fiery joint interview, no dramatic on-air showdown. Instead, it was more like two heat-seeking missiles launched from different directions, both locked onto the same target: Whoopi Goldberg's argument. The result? AI synchronized strike that left her credibility stumbling like a toddler trying to ice skate for the first time. Wobbly, uncertain, and very, very public.
I hate the whole thing. And frankly, that show, you want to talk about a show that set women back, is The View. You want to talk about that show, the CIA is engineering, Antifa and fucking the Capitol riot. Some crazy misogynist engineered The View. Because there's nothing worse than The View. In terms of there are so many brilliant women out there. None of them are on The View. None of them have gone near the set of The View. I mean, they have brought in the lowest tier of the, what is it, the Y chromosome?
No, double
the
X.
Okay.
Double X.
They brought in the lowest of the double X's.
The internet exploded. Memes sprang up faster than you could say Whoopi meltdown, flooding timelines like a digital wildfire. Hashtags trended so fiercely they could have sparked a virtual forest fire. Suddenly, Whoopi Goldberg, once an untouchable media titan, was transformed into the punchline of a viral joke that even her most loyal fans struggled to defend. But it wasn't just the fans who took notice. Media analysts, late-night comedians, and armchair Twitter philosophers all rushed in, dissecting the spectacle like it was the latest episode of a cultural soap opera. How, they wondered, did someone with decades of experience under the unforgiving spotlight get taken down so thoroughly by two commentators who, let's be honest, probably wouldn't have crossed paths otherwise? The answer lies in a brutal clash of styles and the merciless pace of today's public discourse. Joe Rogan's approach was methodical, almost forensic, stripping Whoopi's arguments down to their barest bones, exposing every hidden flaw, like a detective unmasking a suspect. Meanwhile, Charlie Kirk's aggressive, in-your-face style bulldozed any scraps of credibility she tried to clutch, leaving behind a smoldering pile of, wait, what was she even thinking? Watching Whoopi try to recover was like watching a cat who just spotted the vacuum cleaner switch back on, confused, panicked, desperately searching for a safe hiding spot. But there was no escape. The cameras kept rolling, the tweets kept flying, and the entire world was watching.
Disgusting, gross elitism and her complete out-of-touch nature with respect to the rest of the world. Sunny Hostin goes on The View and decides now would be a great time to dump all over the so-called uneducated.
What we did not have is white women who voted about 52%, right, for Donald Trump, uneducated white women.
Just because you didn't go to college doesn't mean you're stupid, and it doesn't mean that you don't have wisdom. You can go to college and get a bunch of irrelevant facts about how men can allegedly give birth or whatever they teach. But I said this to our team. I said working people, the muscular class, including working women, they are so in favor of Trump, and they don't want to be called stupid or
Now here's a little secret nobody saw coming. Whoopi didn't respond. No public apology, no carefully crafted clarification, no desperate attempts to set the record straight. Just silence. Maybe she was regrouping, quietly rethinking her life choices, or maybe she decided that sometimes less really is more. But in this case, her silence roared louder than a brass band at a rock concert. It was the unmistakable sound of a media titan brought to her knees, crippled not by one, but two very different, yet equally devastating verbal assaults. And that's exactly what made this saga so irresistibly satisfying for anyone who loves a good takedown. Because let's be honest, watching someone who's dominated the media landscape for decades get blitzed by two media forces of nature, one wielding a philosophical scalpel, the other launching political grenades, is like witnessing the ultimate underdog story. Except in this case, the underdogs were giants in their own right, and the fallen giant wasn't just anybody, it was Whoopi Goldberg. But this wasn't just a stumble in the spotlight for one woman. It was a snapshot of today's cultural battlefield, a place where no one, no matter how iconic or influential, is immune from being called out, roasted, and memed into oblivion. It laid bare the new rules of engagement in public discourse, a ruthless arena where preparation isn't optional. And missteps are costly. Step into the ring unarmed and you're not just losing. You're getting knocked out cold.
About losing your job, and you're worried about podcasts taking over, and who's the source of news, and we said Donald Trump was Hitler, but half the country disagreed with us, and he won, and this is and Joe Rogan believes in dragons. Do you see what Whoopi Goldberg said?
What'd she say?
Whoopi Goldberg said that Biden could arrest all the Republicans and put them in jail. You just need to see how unhinged this kind of thinking is. Well, you know what Joe Biden could do? Joe Biden, you have to see it, because it's so
on TV.
crazy.
She said
on.
The infamous breakdown. Sounds dramatic, right? Like Whoopi Goldberg, the seasoned media titan, suddenly losing her cool, turning into a blubbering mess on live TV, clutching a tissue box and begging for mercy. But what does breakdown really mean here? Spoiler alert. It wasn't some Oscar-worthy sob fest or a meltdown caught like a reality show finale. No, this was subtler. More like a slow leak in a tire than a blown-out explosion. Picture a cocktail of visible frustration, unexpected, shifts in tone, and just a hint of, Well, this isn't going as planned. Think less soap opera meltdown, more quiet unraveling of confidence. Whoopi, usually the queen of snark and razor-sharp comebacks, suddenly found herself navigating the wreckage left by Joe Rogan's meticulous dissection and Charlie Kirk's verbal sledgehammer. It was like watching a stand-up comedian forget the punchline halfway through their best joke. Awkward, oddly captivating, and just a bit unsettling. Her normally sharp, confident voice wavered ever so slightly, sending a subtle yet unmistakable signal. This wasn't the breezy, commanding commentary fans were used to. Was she trying to defend herself? Sort of. But it was more like someone tossing a life preserver made of wet noodles. There were defensive moves, sure, but they lacked the usual Whoopi flair and fire. In that moment, the cracks were visible, and the media giant showed signs of faltering in real time.
Say too much, but we're gonna have a lot of fun at the Department of Education. We're gonna have a lot of fun.
Can I tell you something? Like, I've had quite a few people contact me about that particular post. Like, I'm sure I have 1/100th of what you're getting, but people are contacting me about cabinet posts. I'm like, I got
look,
nothing.
I mean, yeah, I'm actually, after this conversation, heading to Mar-a-Lago for a week, and we have a lot to sift through, and if I could be helpful, I have asked. I want to be actively involved in all things education, as you can imagine.
Instead of snapping back with her usual sharp bite, it felt like Whoopi was tiptoeing through a minefield, each step met with exploding facts and relentless counterpoints that kept detonating beneath her feet. There was a subtle shifting of blame, sure, but it came wrapped in the most polite, let's not point fingers kind of way, the kind only seasoned pros can pull off when caught off guard. The real giveaway was in her tone. Gone was the quick-witted repartee we've come to expect. In its place was a cautious, measured cadence, like someone who suddenly realizes they've wandered into a very different arena than the one they thought they signed up for. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, but that fleeting moment swiftly became the defining point in the whole feud. You see, Whoopi's public persona has long stood as a fortress of confidence, razor-sharp wit, and cultural savvy. She's the media equivalent of that effortlessly cool aunt who always knows exactly what to say and exactly when to say it. But in those few seconds of hesitation, a crack appeared. A slight falter in her delivery. Suddenly, the narrative flipped. The invincible Whoopi was humanized, vulnerable even. And in today's ruthless media landscape, vulnerability is like blood in the water, drawing critics and fans alike with equal ferocity. Media experts pounced, framing it as a textbook example of the pressures that even the most seasoned commentators face in a world where no one is untouchable. They nodded gravely over their coffee cups, scribbling think pieces about the merciless speed of public judgment. As for the fans, well, reactions split. Some saw Whoopi as a victim, caught unfairly in a brutal crossfire. Others grabbed their popcorn, thrilled by the rare spectacle of a titan being humbled in real time.
This is the show that people love to hate.
Yes, that's true.
They get so much hate watching viral clips of them saying ridiculous things. I mean,
Yeah.
it is a rabies infested.
The general consensus? This moment might mark a serious turning point for Whoopi Goldberg's credibility. When your usual armor cracks, you become an easier target, and suddenly, the long game for media longevity feels a lot less certain. But here's where the story gets really fascinating. This isn't just a personal blow-up between three media personalities. No, it's a microcosm of the larger cultural wars ripping through society right now. The Whoopi Rogan Kirk saga is a vivid snapshot of how the battleground has shifted. Gone are the days of hushed editorial rooms and polite panel discussions. Today's arena is a loud, brutal coliseum where every word is weaponized, every misstep magnified 1,000 times over. It's a place where the stakes are sky high and the consequences can be devastating. Joe Rogan and Charlie Kirk represent two dominant but vastly different forces shaping this chaotic landscape. Rogan's unique blend of intellectual curiosity and skepticism draws in those tired of surface-level soundbites, listeners craving something deeper, something real. On the flip side, Kirk's firebrand conservatism rallies a base hungry for bold, unapologetic takes that slice through political correctness like a samurai sword. Together, they embody how colossal personalities now don't just report or comment on news, they actively shape public opinion, sometimes with seismic impact. Caught in the middle, Whoopi's breakdown signals just how enormous the pressure has become for media figures today. It's no longer enough to just have an opinion. You have to survive the digital gladiator arena that comes with it. In an age where every clip can be looped endlessly, every comment dissected under a microscope, and every reaction memed into oblivion, the margin for error shrinks by the day. Even the most seasoned pros risk burnout, public missteps, or worse, a viral moment that could undo years of carefully built reputations. So, who actually won this battle? If victory means walking away unscathed, then neither Whoopi nor her challengers left without marks. But in terms of sheer impact, Rogan and Kirk certainly landed their blows with style and precision, reminding the world why their voices carry so much weight. They showed that anyone stepping into this arena better come prepared for the heat. What's next for Whoopi? Most likely a period of recalibration, a time to regroup, rethink, and maybe dial back the hot takes for a moment. As for Rogan and Kirk, expect them to keep sharpening their verbal swords, always ready for the next big target. Because if this saga teaches us anything, it's that the culture wars aren't slowing down anytime soon. The media spotlight is only getting brighter and hotter. For the rest of us, this show is far from over. So, what's next for Whoopi? Nobody knows yet. But one thing is crystal clear. In this era of instant viral destruction, even legends can crumble spectacularly, and the world is watching every second of the fallout.